You're listening to The Drive. Now, your Sports 1140 KHTK update. Brought to you by J.R. Putman Plumbing, Heating, and Air.
Oh, hey. Didn't see you there. This is Kyle Madsen with your top stories on Sports 1140. The Kings took the Bucks to overtime last night but couldn't pull off the upset as Milwaukee left Sacramento with a 141-140 overtime victory. Buddy Hield led all scorers with 32 points. Bogdan Bogdanovic had 28 for himself. And Harrison Barnes, he had 15 points to go along with 14 rebounds, but it was not enough. The big story of the game, though, is Marvin Bagley's left knee. He left late in the third quarter with what the team is calling a left knee sprain. He'll have an MRI on that injury later on today. The Spurs beat the Pistons 105-93, while the Clippers fell to the Jazz 111-105. That puts the Kings now 2 games back of a playoff spot, with the Spurs and Clippers tied for the number 7 and number 8 seeds. Meanwhile, the Lakers topped the Pelicans 125-119 to put them 1 game behind the Kings in the playoff hunt. It's 8:01. If you have been injured at work, call the law offices of Doug Moreno at 916-564-4000 for a free consultation. Hey, those are your top stories on Sports 1140. The Drive's coming up next. We'll see you next time.
Rise and shine, sleepyhead.
I'm not letting you go to work today.
Wait, what?
Everybody, listen up.
Welcome to The Drive.
Morning.
You're gonna talk.
Get on the phone at 339-1140.
Pretty awesome, huh?
Jump in on our text line at 441140.
Everyone is talking about it. You must know that.
The Drive starts now.
Sam Amick joining us in about a minute. Kyle, did you watch The Sopranos? Of course you didn't. Sorry, it's not a movie.
What a
it's a
stupid
it's
question.
a TV
Guys,
series.
such a dumb question.
It's a series. It's not a movie.
No, if it unless it's Game of Thrones,
Yeah.
I haven't seen it if it's on HBO.
David Chase was the creator of The Sopranos, and
That's the
No.
Christmas Vacation guy.
No, it's not. He has a script completed for a movie called The Saints of Newark. The Many Saints of Newark, excuse me. It's a prequel to The Sopranos. It will be a movie. It's starring James Gandolfini's son as Tony Soprano. And a lot of guys that we call that guy, a lot of guys you may not know them by name as far as actor, but when you see them, you go, oh, yeah, I know
that guy's in
guy.
everything.
They just announced this morning they've also cast Ray Liotta in that movie. Old Goodfellas, Ray Liotta. I'm sure another movie you haven't seen, Goodfellas?
Nope.
Of course not.
I have seen Field of Dreams, though.
Sam Amick in just a couple minutes. Good morning, Ken.
Hey, good morning. How you doing this morning?
I'm good. How are you?
Hey, did you guys talk about that 11.4 seconds and who to put the blame on last night?
Are you talking about the end of regulation and Fox with the inbound?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. No, we have, but go ahead.
You know what, because I was at the game. That 11.4 seconds. That's the responsibility of the coach. The coach is supposed to make sure whatever play he calls. Because I went home and I watched the replay. I watched it a couple of times. I watched what everybody did on that play, and it's like they went out to the court, and then it looked like they didn't even have nothing, drawn up. You know what I'm saying? Bogdanovic's in the corner on the left side. Buddy Hield is on the right side, and they're not even moving the whole time that Funk has the ball. And my thought process is, hey, if you're the coach, you make sure you draw up the play, and you make sure you control what happens on the court. Hey, I don't care what we do when we inbound the ball. This is what everybody does. We get 1 pass, 2 pass, 3 pass, and whoever has the ball shoots the open shot or shoots the shot at the basket. Not dribbling, because dribbling don't score points. I don't know if y'all know that. I don't think everybody does, but last night's play, I'm blaming it on the coach, because the coach should have made sure his players did what he drawn up. Because last night, that play looked terrible. I watched it about 3 or 4 times, and everybody's just standing around. And it's like they went onto the court without a thought process. What do you guys think about that?
Let me ask a couple things, Ken, before you hang up. And Sam's ready here in just a second. So, number one, do you think Dave Yeager drew up a play out of the timeout?
Yes, because when I watched the replay, I watched him write up a play. He was in a deep conversation.
Okay, right. So we agree. Obviously, he drew a play up. Now,
yes, sir.
we've seen game winners over the last couple years which really was the start of this team. We've seen Fox a couple times, Philadelphia, Miami. We've seen Bogdanovich against the Lakers. We've seen Buddy Hield against Detroit, and almost Buddy Hield in Denver, where he just missed that shot. Those are the three guys I think Dave Yeager has elected to rotate and go to in game-winning situations. And last night it was De'Aaron Fox's turn. Now, I understand what you're saying. In a perfect world, you call a timeout. But here's the problem. De'Aaron Fox lost the handle. The play was called. He lost the handle, and everybody had to reset. If you call a timeout in that situation, you now have about half the time left, but you also give the Bucks the opportunity to reset their defense. You don't have the time to do that. In that situation, I think Dave Yeager was trusting his best playmaker. I think the guy that we all want the ball in his hands, either him or Buddy Hield. In that situation, you're trusting De'Aaron Fox to make a play. De'Aaron Fox didn't make a play. By the way, Eric Bledsoe played really good defense on him. And sometimes you have to tip your cap to that as well. I don't think De'Aaron didn't try to make a play. I don't think Coach didn't try to call a timeout. Yeah, that play absolutely collapsed. But then you have a situation like last night. Look at the end of the Miami Heat game against the Golden State Warriors. That wasn't a great play. Hell, Dwayne Wade finally shot the ball with like 2 seconds left and got it blocked, and then ended up shooting a shot off his one leg that banked in, and they won the game. Now, if Miami loses that game, if that ball doesn't go in, and odds are the ball's not going to go in, all Miami Sports Talk Radio and Dan Lebitard are talking about today is how Miami blew this giant lead, and what the hell was Eric Spoelstra doing? What kind of play was that? But because the shot went in, all the talk today is about how Dwayne Wade shouted out Kobe Bryant, and what a great story in his final year, and this is a great way to go out, and Miami Heat and Dwayne Wade, and they're amazing. Yeah, it's the difference between making the shot and missing the shot. But I think Dave Yeager called a play, and I think De'Aaron Fox lost the handle on the dribble, and that's what happened. Joining us right now from The Athletic. He's driving somewhere. I don't know where, but it's probably to report awesome things for The Athletic, where right now if you go to theathletic.com, you can get yourself a phenomenal deal, and we're coming up on NFL Combine stuff pretty soon. It's going to be NBA Draft. There's no better time of year to be a member of The Athletic than right now, and the best basketball writer in the history of the sport joins us right now. We're very honored to have Sam Amick. Good morning, Sam.
Good morning, Dave. Best radio man in the history of humanity.
Wow. Imagine starting out your interview with a lie and losing all credibility.
I mean, your praise was very nice, but you went pretty high there. I'm heading to Boston, buddy. You seem curious about where I'm going. That's the destination.
Are subscriptions really that low that you have to drive to Boston?
I'm driving to the airport, and my gosh, I don't envy the folks with more conventional jobs who have to get to an office in downtown Sacramento every morning by a reasonable hour. This traffic's pretty brutal.
You are as connected as can be, so I don't want to put you on the spot, but do you have the results of the MRI for Marvin Bagley yet?
I do not.
Okay, because I don't think it's happened yet.
Yeah, I don't. And honestly, while packing bags and trying to get out the door, I'm guilty of not trying to hunt that down all that hard. I just know that I was at the game last night, and from a vibe and feel standpoint, certainly a lot of concern. You know, the video painted a grim enough picture when it comes to the pain that he was in, and then some weird stuff after the game where they were kind of working on his knee in the locker room, and some reporters were kind of around and seeing stuff that they typically don't see, and it just everybody was, from media to teammates, coaches, all the above, certainly wishing for the best for him, but it did not look good.
Marvin Bagley left walking out of the arena. We saw the video of that. He was wearing a knee immobilizer. From what I've been told, MRI scheduled for this morning. Best guess is we will have results sometime around noon, 1 o'clock. Again, that's a best guess, and that will be during the Lowdown show from noon to 3 with Damien and Jason. Sam will, I think, most likely be in the middle of the country at that point on his way to Boston. So you did watch last night's game. Pretty good effort, pretty damn good effort by the Kings against the Bucks team that's won 18 of 20 after they lost Bagley to send that thing to overtime. But what were your big takeaways other than the Bagley injury?
I mean, on the positive side, since you're clearly needing some of that this morning. I could tell by the tone of your last segment that folks are frustrated, and it's such a fascinating thing to see these fans that never saw any of this coming, and then certainly, with good reason, getting kind of greedy where you want a game like this against a good Milwaukee team. These Kings keep showing an ability to not ever really be out of a game. I don't know the biggest lead. It was 15, 16, 17. Got behind quite a bit. And, more synergy and rhythm, I thought, when it comes to De'Aaron and Buddy and rotations and all the talking points of the last week or so. That last play, though, that you highlighted, certainly was the talk of the press room, or that late play, rather, with De'Aaron and Eric Bledsoe, and questions about what happened there and why there wasn't a high screen or something to get, Bledsoe off of De'Aaron. And again, on the positive side, but for the Bucks, it was, that was incredible defense. That was one of the better defensive showings, kind of one play that I've seen in quite some time. So, I mean, it's one of those, I don't blame fans for having that one hurt, because not only did you have it right there, but the Bucks didn't play well at all by their standards. Giannis had 5 points at halftime, but what's remarkable is you look up and they got 73 points with him having 5 points at halftime. I mean, they shoot the heck out of the ball, and they're deep. So, they got threats all over the floor.
Well, and you bring that up, obviously we're in Sacramento. We're focused on the Kings losing in their playoff hunt. We're focused on Marvin Bagley being injured. But one thing that we really haven't talked a lot about, and you alluded to there, was Giannis Antetokounmpo playing 24 minutes in an overtime game. He sat versus the Bulls, and the Bucks win over the weekend earlier this week there to rest that knee. Listen, you and I both know this. The Milwaukee Bucks are probably the favorite to come out of the East. One of the few teams that you hope can give the Warriors a challenge, but that doesn't do anything without Antetokounmpo. How serious do you think this is? Are they just being cautious with him, or is this something you got to keep an eye on the rest of the year?
It sounds like it's something you got to keep an eye on the rest of the year, and I was a little slow to kind of pick up on this. Last night I was talking to Matt Velasquez, who's a beat writer from the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel, and Matt was kind of sharing the bigger picture of Giannis's knee and the fact that it does seem like something that he's going to have to watch. It's interesting. If I can juggle with travel logistics today, I want to write a column based on my conversation with Giannis the other day, and I had asked him about his belief and confidence level in that question of, could you guys actually pull this thing off and knock off a team like the Warriors, and just kind of where do you want to take this? And he was very measured, and he essentially took the kind of the day-by-day approach and was, saying, listen, we haven't gotten out of the first round. But in hindsight, I feel like, it's hard not to feel like his measured tone might have been connected to the fact that he knows that physically right now he's just trying to make sure that nothing gets more serious, because he didn't look that great when he was on the floor. I mean, that was, about the least impressive performance that he's probably had all year long. And then to see him again, on the bench in OT because of that minutes restriction was surprising.
Sam Amick joining us. And Sam, as you've shown, you're on your way to Boston. You're going to write about Milwaukee. You cover the entire NBA, though you live here. You have many other teams to look at. I don't know if you've kind of taken a look recently. We haven't checked in on the whole Jaeger front office situation, but there were some perceived, perhaps, flare-ups over the weekend. You had people grousing about the Buddy Hield sitting down the other game, the back and forth, the Warriors game between the two of them, and then just overall front office, Jaeger, Harrison Barnes going between the 3 and the 4. Are you hearing all quiet? Is there something to look at? Do you have any update on that?
I mean, I would probably, it's a little bit like Giannis's knee, I would say something to monitor. One kind of elephant in the room that I don't think you and I have ever just plainly said is that in most circumstances, when a team overperforms to the degree that this Kings team has, it's certainly not outside the realm of possibility that they would have already told the public what's happening. We got honking going on, sorry.
That's okay.
That they would have already told the public what the plan was with the coach. He's got 1 year left, but a lot of questions about if Dave's going to be back next year, and that seems unthinkable, but it just kind of is what it is. They haven't shored up that situation. They haven't even on background kind of made it abundantly clear that that he's the guy for even next season. And so I think it's something to monitor. Even I'm trying to filter some of the noise that's outside of the Kings, but I think it is worth sharing also that around the league in terms of kind of the intel on how people perceive the situation. I'd probably say that the tone is more that he winds up somewhere else next year than is in Sacramento. But you got to filter that because people always assume that he's going to be the T-Wolves coach somehow, some way.
Right.
And there's a lot of moving parts. And it's Ryan Saunders has done a pretty good job, and they're trying to get in the playoffs. So there's a lot to get through there, but I think that dynamic is still kind of unclear.
I had proposed to you earlier, right after Tom Thibodeau was relieved of his duties, that it certainly seemed like a really good fit if Ryan Saunders was able to take that team, maintain this year. That would really, for obvious reasons, his dad is the late great Flip Saunders, a legend in the Minnesota area, a crowd favorite, etc. Do you think Ryan Saunders maintaining control of the Timberwolves past this season is still a fairly realistic possibility?
I don't have a great updated sense on it. I think it's extremely, results driven, which is to say there appears to be, far less politics in that situation than, say, a situation like Sacramento. And so when they beat, darn it, who did they just beat the other night?
They beat the Kings.
They beat the Kings. Thank you. Yeah, they pulled that, and Karl Anthony Towns.
Yeah.
Looked great, and I know Kings fans didn't like that game, but I actually really enjoyed his performance that night because he had been in that car accident and he played like a guy who was happy to be alive. But then they dropped a bad one last night, and I'm also forgetting the opponent, but they lost. And so I think if they get into the playoffs, if they keep pushing strong, he's got a shot at it, but it does, seem more likely that they open it up and he would be a candidate. And I think he would have to then present himself again. So, I think that's a moving target, but it's also, I don't have anybody telling me that, Dave would 100% be the guy. And that's the other thing. It's like, kind of bird in hand, being better than two in the bush.
Right.
And I think you probably agree with me that when it comes to Dave's view, Dave is very fond of the city, very fond of the roster, and obviously having a good time this year in terms of turning this thing around. So don't make any assumptions about kind of how he sees this situation.
Well, it's no secret, and you and I've talked to you off the air about this, but I've also talked on the air about this. I'm a huge backer of Jaeger. I hope he's back next year. It worries me that he has not been extended as of yet. The way what I read is very simple. If he's either back, and I'm still leaning towards him coming back, but if not, I'm keeping a big eye on that Luke Walton situation in L.A. That worries me. I don't think Luke will be back. I don't know what your read is, but I imagine I'm not way off base there. And I very much think if Jaeger doesn't return, the Kings are going to do more than kick the tires on Luke this summer.
Yeah, and you and I have talked about that off air, and I agree with you. I've tried to vet that, with some folks who know what's happening on the Kings side, and certainly no one's willing to kind of go there just yet. I also think that you got to say that on the optics front, a major consideration. And the fans, I think, know this, but the fan voice definitely matters. And so, I think, hypothetically, let's say the Kings finish relatively strong, just can't get it over the playoff finish line, but they have a really good year with 39 wins, something like that, 40 wins. Then all of a sudden you say, hey, Dave's not back, but we got Luke Walton, who was not able to get the Lakers to the playoffs with LeBron James. Those optics, I think, could be tricky. Luke, what'll be fascinating is, what is Luke's, what is his kind of public persona? And, he's gone from being, the up-and-coming sexy new coach to the guy who's been through it a little bit with the Lakers. And so it's not necessarily a home run hire in the eyes of some fans, I think, whether it's the Kings or any other team. So, again, a lot to get through. But, yeah, that name is certainly been floating around. You've got some easy dots to connect when it comes to Vivek and his time with the Warriors when Luke was an assistant coach there. You've got the Lakers ties with Vlade and his history in Lakerland. So, and listen, I do think Luke's a good coach, and he's only going to get better. And so if you thought that it was a good guy to have with the young group, I could see them thinking about it.
Well, and there's something we're missing in all this, Sam, and I don't know what it is, and you're smarter than me. But I think that, listen, fans have had plenty of issues, and there's been plenty of things with the Jaegers, lineups and rotations and not starting Bagley and blah, blah, blah. But I think if we're sitting here over the summer, and you go, okay, the rest of this year, Sam, the Kings have the third easiest schedule left in the NBA. To this point, they've had the third toughest, which is a little weird. I don't know if they're going to make the playoffs, but I do think it's fair to say it's probable that they're going to finish 500, if not maybe a game over 500. I think 500 is very, very reachable. I can't imagine a world in which Dave Joerger takes his team to 500 or better and isn't able to come back unless, and that's my question for you, Sam, are you starting to sniff a little bit of Doug Collins, Phil Jackson, a little bit of Mark Jackson, Steve Kerr? Do you think there might be that thought that he's the guy that got us to the hump, we need someone else to get us over the summit?
Yeah, and again, I think it's transparency is good. Like, you and I have gone down this road, but and I didn't tell you this when we talked about this the other day. It's like sure, interesting parallel. Like, Mark Jackson had it had been a slower build, and this thing just went from, not 0 to 60, but it went from 15 to 70 real quick in Sacramento in a good way.
Yeah.
Meaning that nobody saw this happening. So I think it's a little, sure, somebody might be thinking that, but I think it's a little simplistic to I think that would honestly be, if that, let's make it clear, these are hypotheticals, but if that is what ends up happening, I, right now, would argue strongly that that's cover for other stuff. It's cover for relationship dynamics that could not get resolved. It's cover for, a matter of taste, personality-wise. Listen, it's not a real secret. He has had some friction with front office people in the past in Memphis. He's also not by any means unique when it comes to head coaches in this league being intense, being tricky at different times. These jobs, these guys get paid a lot of money. Yeah, they do. But it's also like 82 games is long. You're all in the same room, day in, day out, breathing the same air, trying to find solutions. It's a real intense experience where I just think sometimes people are rubbing each other the wrong way. And I don't know all the details recently, but yeah, like as recently as yesterday, I was getting some sense that it's just been a little tight lately. And some of that stuff you've seen is tied to the public stuff that you already mentioned, like the Buddy situation. I love how Buddy's always trying to diffuse, media stuff, and I don't really know Buddy at all, but I respect that he tries to keep things positive. But he's trying to put lipstick on a pig sometimes when it comes to acting like there's nothing there. And I think that stuff, and even if he feels like there's nothing there, ownership and management does, I believe, and that type of stuff doesn't really get forgotten.
Sam Amick of The Athletic. And Sam, we got a minute left, so I want to plug what's going on. I did eavesdrop on your interview with The Lowdown yesterday. You've got an article coming out here, I think, fairly soon on awards, and I think your angle, if I heard correctly, is kind of pleading to the colleagues, stop turning in your ballots 20 games before the season ends?
Yeah, not quite that extreme, but they do. I looked at that is the angle. I swear, man, I love awards analysis, and I hate it. It's exhausting. I'm already second-guessing certain things. I didn't make my picks. I basically said, here's who I'm still considering. So I tried to whittle down my individual list to, on each award, and then I came up with a little system that was like mind made up meter, scale of 1 to 10, how much is my mind already made up. And but what people I don't think always realize is that the NBA sends out the ballot with it's roughly 4 games to go in the regular season, and I've seen in the past times when you can tell that everybody's filing their votes early, and I kind of think that's absurd, and even more so now that the award show doesn't even happen until June. So, my whole contention is that all these games at the end matter just as much as the ones at the beginning, and whether it's MVP, like Coach of the Year, I have no idea what I'm going to do. That thing's wide open. Yeah, he's in there. He's in there. He's a little fun fact that I did get my attention. Right now, Dave and Mike Budenholzer are the only coaches whose teams already have a better record than they did last year.
That's yep. End it. I didn't mean to end the interview. Sam, did I just lose you? I just lost. Oh wait, there you are. Sam, sorry you cut out. Finish what you were saying.
I was just saying another Kings plug. I got De'Aaron in my most improved discussion, although that's definitely, it's a line meter of 9 out of 10 on going to Pascal Siakam of the Raptors. But De'Aaron's just really gotten a lot better this year. So that should be up. It might already be up right now. It'll be up in the next few hours, if nothing else.
That is Sam Amick of The Athletic. Go to theathletic.com where you will find the best sports journalism anywhere happening right now. Sam, you can hear him in the car. He's on the way to the airport. He will be in Boston doing Boston things. I'm going to guess he's going to write about the Red Sox. And currently, Sam, right now in Boston, in fact, by the time you land, it will be a balmy 29 degrees.
No, that's not too bad. I can deal with that.
Wear a jacket. Wear that corduroy, buddy.
Yes, sir.
I'll see you soon. Thank you, buddy. We'll talk to you Thursday.
All right. Thanks, Dave.
That's Sam Amick. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll wrap up much of this. Your chance to get in on the phones at 339-1140, 1-800-920-1140 on the Fire Wings hotline. 21 different flavors to choose from. Firewings.com. Just wing it. I'll also tell you about a college basketball team that beat another team wearing their uniforms. Yeah. Kyle?
So, like, the team beat themselves, like turnovers, missed shots, stuff like that?
A little different. I'll let you know.
It's time to call your local Geico agent, Vince Harris, at 916-923-5050. That's 916-923-5050. Love Vince.
Love me some Vince. We'll take a break. When we come back, all the stuff I just told you about. Sports 1140 KHTK.
Now, your Sports 1140 KHTK update. Brought to you by J.R. Putman Plumbing, Heating, and Air.
Hey, it's Kyle Madsen with your top stories on Sports 1140. The Kings lost last night to the Bucks in overtime, 141-140. Buddy Hield had a good game with 32 points. He led all scorers. Bogdan Bogdanovic was good as well with 28. Harrison Barnes had 15 points to go along with 14 rebounds. The big story of this game, though, Marvin Bagley and his left knee. He exited the game in the third quarter with what the team is calling a left knee sprain. He'll have an MRI on that injury later on today. Keep it locked to KHTK as we will bring you updates as they happen. The Spurs beat the Pistons 105-93, while the Clippers fell to the Jazz 111-105. That puts the Kings now 2 games back of a playoff spot, with the Spurs and Clippers tied at the number 7 and number 8 seeds. The Lakers topped the Pelicans 125-119 down in LA to put them 1 game behind the Kings in the playoff hunt. It's 8:33. If you have been injured at work, call the law offices of Doug Moreno at 916-564-4000 for a free consultation. Those are your top stories. Now back to the drive. In Sports 1140, KHTK.
The least professional show in the entire station. And they'd like to apologize for absolutely nothing.
That's right.
The drive continues now.
Not apologize for nothing, no how, nah, It's the drive. 1-800-920-1140 if you want to get your call in today. Lowdown coming up noon to 3. Damien and Jason, Cody, Christopher Laud, the chump. That's what I call. Yeah, you heard me.
Oh, snap.
Oh, yeah, you heard me. My best guess is that they will have your updates on Marvin Bagley. My, again, best guess is that news will probably break somewhere. That's probably a bad choice of words. That news will probably happen sometime between the noon to 3 hour. Steve, welcome into the drive.
Yeah, hey, thanks for taking my call. I just wanted to comment on Dave Yeager, the coach. I just don't understand what the swirl is, and I think you may be onto something if there's something slightly under the surface. And I guess from my perspective, the jury's out on Vivek Ranadive, and I'll tell you why. He is the kind of coach that likes to tinker and fiddle and he's not a very patient guy, and he gets seduced by these high-profile names. I mean, when Mike Malone was coaching and the team was on a little bit of a roll, he had a shot at George Karl, and when the Kings hit that stretch where they lost a bunch of games in a row without DeMarcus Cousins in, they used that kind of as cover to fire Mike Malone. And it was a disaster with George Karl coming on after that. And I really think that you need to judge what's going on right now by the portfolio of what's going on the entire season. And I mean, the Kings in the last 6 years, just offensively, they were standing around. There was no flow to the game. They weren't any fun to watch out. Defensively, it was Matador defense. And I really think that Jaeger's really got these guys believing in themselves, believing in the system, and believing in a step-by-step process to make go. So if it's a relationship issue, then they better figure out a way to make the relationships work rather than just trying to take an easy way out and getting seduced by a Luke Walton. It just seems like it's going the wrong way again. And I think firing Mike Malone when they did that set them back about 10 years. And I hope to God they don't repeat the same mistake.
Steve, I agree with you on pretty much all fronts. And I'm very much on record that I am a charter member of the Dave Joerger fan club, and what he's gone through, and the fact that he lost his franchise player almost immediately into his tenure and has overseen this rebuild. And what, again, if we catch the start of the rebuild, nothing before that was Joerger's fault. He and Vlade have all but rebuilt this team in 2 years since the DeMarcus Cousins trade. I think, as we talked about with Sam, if we had said last season the Kings would have a very legitimate, if not probable, shot at 41 wins this year, which is 500, I think we would have all been drug tested. So the only thing, first off, number one, it may be nothing. They may extend Dave Joerger a 3-4 year deal this summer. Okay, so put that aside. If that doesn't happen, then the only explanation to me is that there's some sort of he's great, but there's just too much friction, and he doesn't want to play this guy here, and he doesn't want to start that guy there, and he and the front office aren't on the same page, blah, blah, blah. It's going to be one of those things. I agree with you. I don't care. Put your differences aside because, correct me if I'm wrong, Dave Joerger's the best coach, or at least the most effective coach we've had since Rick Adelman, and Rick Adelman hasn't been around in a long, long time.
Yeah, and I'm going back, and I think the problem, if you go back to Adelman's tenure, they were thinking about getting rid of him through all the 50-game winning seasons just because, quote, he couldn't win the big one, quote, couldn't get him over the hump. I can't believe, sports is replete with people, not accepting anything less than a championship, not realizing.
Whoa. Did I lose you?
And not having the patience will really screw you in the long run.
No, I think that's a good call. I appreciate you. 339-1140, 1-800-920-1140. I don't want to deal with that. But I'd love to say, at the beginning of the year, when this team was starting to do well, somebody just texted in and said if the Kings don't re-sign the coach and his staff, that'll create a public relations nightmare. I can't exactly get completely behind that. Again, I'm there. I'd lose my mind. I think a lot of fans would lose their minds. But I think maybe the most surprising thing this year is the amount of fans I've seen, and maybe it's just a real vocal minority. It's tough to tell, but the amount of fans I've seen, Joerger's plays or Tero's substitutions are horrible. Why is he starting this guy? You gotta get. And all I want to say to them is, do you not remember the coaches we've had? Do you not have... Dave Joerger should have a 10-year extension, in my opinion. I think Dave Joerger is the most important non-player on that entire franchise, and Vlade is a close second. I love Vlade. I'll wear Vlade's jersey tomorrow. Got it at home, hang it up. But Dave Joerger's the guy. And when I say Dave Joerger, I'm also talking about his coaching staff. That's it. I don't know if he's the best coach in the NBA. Sure, he's not. Whatever. But, dude, what did Sam say? They already have a better record than they did last year. They are guaranteed at this point with another month and a half left in the year. They're guaranteed to finish with a better record than they did last year. And it's been that way for a couple of weeks. The only other guy in the NBA doing that, Mike Budenholzer, Milwaukee Bucks. We saw them last night. That's really good company to be in. This isn't Don Casey last year with Toronto that once again,
Dwayne Casey.
What'd I say?
Don.
Who's Don Casey? Probably an old neighbor. This isn't Dwayne Casey from last year who couldn't get out of the first round after having that record. You know, I understand if you're going up and up and up and up against a wall and you keep bashing into it, yeah, maybe you need Phil Jackson to take over for Doug Collins. Maybe you need Steve Kerr to take over for Mark Jackson. They haven't even gotten to the wall yet.
You were thinking of former Clippers and Nets coach Don Casey.
Yes, I was.
He coached each of those teams for a season and a half. He was also the Temple coach for 10 years.
Don Casey.
From 73 to 82.
Thank you very much. Wait, he was a Temple coach? Wasn't Don Chaney the Temple coach?
I don't know.
All right. Hey, Patrick, welcome in.
How's it going, guys? Big fans of the show.
Thank you, buddy.
Just a few things. First, the crowd at Golden One is getting better by the game. I'm sure you guys have noticed. I'm so excited for even potentially playoffs because I think it's going to be insane. Then second, your thoughts, when are the flashes from Harry Giles going to turn into consistency? Because he had a stretch last night that was great, but then he kind of disappeared.
I think that's a really tough question to answer. We got a break, but here's my simple answer. Harry Giles basically didn't play basketball for 2 years. Harry Giles sat out all of last year, literally rebuilding an entire leg. Harry Giles, you know, people talk about Marvin Bagley being this young kid of a rookie. Harry Giles is far younger than Marvin Bagley is when it comes to experience. They may be similar in age, but Harry Giles is much younger when it comes to basketball. So you see flashes like last night, and you look at how young Harry is and how much weight he can add, muscle he can add. I said it yesterday on Twitter. When you talk about the Kings core, you talk about Hield, you talk about Fox, you talk about Bagley, maybe Bogdanovich, and you should. If Harry Giles turns out to be better than all of them, I'm not going to be shocked. I'll be surprised. I won't be shocked. I would not be shocked. He has tremendous touch offensively. He's the best passer on the freaking team.
Okay.
I think if Harry Giles can figure it out defensively, which shockingly 15 to 20 pounds of muscle might help him.
Yeah,
and he
that's
can
true.
obviously stay healthy. He has all the tools. He looks like Chris Webber Jr. when he's on. And I think we kind of push him to the side like, oh, Harry's cute. You know, he can't. No, 18 points in 17 minutes, 7 boards. Oh, that's 36 and 14 per 34. What's on tap is next on the Drive. Sports 1140.
Classic per 34 splits.
Right. That's absolutely right. KHTK.
It's the end of the show, but it's the start of your workday. Pour a cold one. It's What's on Tap. Here's What's on Tap.
What's on Tap? Brought to you by
sunscreen.
Yeah, I thought that was coming. That's why I started laughing. I have been very quietly suffering over the last few days. I am so itchy because somehow I think it's okay to go outside in the sun and forget sunscreen. This happened last year. It happened last week. I am peeling so badly right now. It's ridiculous. Look at this, Kyle.
No.
I went in and showed the guys. I just pulled my shirt down to show off my shoulder and my neck. It's covered up. You watch it on the KHTK live stream. You can't see. But, I mean, can you see this? Look at that. It's like I'm a snake. I'm shedding. Snakes shed, right? That's what you call it? Peel?
They melt?
Molt?
Something with an M.
Okay. Sunscreen, get yours today. Kyle, you gave me a on this day. Share with the class, please.
On this date in 1983, CBS aired the finale of the groundbreaking military comedy Seinfeld.
Ooh.
MASH.
MASH.
The final episode of MASH aired today. 36 years ago.
So which do you think is a more important date in entertainment? Because on this day also, I want to say it was in 84. So that would be 35 years ago. I could be off by a year, but I know it was on this day. Michael Jackson won 7 Grammys. I think he won 8 total, 1 for a soundtrack. I think it was, somebody told me it was E.T., but I got to research that. 7 Grammys for the album Thriller.
I think Thriller.
I think so too. Thriller versus MASH.
I understand MASH's significance and popularity at the time, but I don't think it's aged the way Thriller has.
They say that...
Or not aged. I don't think it's maintained its status in popular culture, its widespread status, the way Thriller has.
They say the rating for the final episode of MASH will never be approached by anything other than the Super Bowl. Ever, 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 ever. The final episode of MASH was watched by 105.9 million people.
That's outrageous.
That was the record for everything until 2010 when the Super Bowl topped it with 106.
And the Super Bowl's probably topped it every year since.
Probably. If I remember correctly, though, Kyle, it wasn't just the fact that 106 million people watched it. It was that 106 million people watched it 36 years ago or whatever it was. I don't know what percentage of homes that was, but remember, in 1983, 83 million homes had TVs.
Oh.
And it was watched by 106 million people. Just to give you an idea, the finale of Cheers in 1993 was watched by 80.4 million. The finale of Seinfeld in 98, 76 million. The finale of Friends in 2004, 52 million. That's pretty insane. Also, today's National Chili Day. I think that's relevant. I think chili and sports have an interesting connection. I really do. Chili dogs, bowl of chili. I think chili is a sports food.
Sure. I think it's more of a football food, just considering
Agreed.
the time of year.
Sure.
Hey, what was the number for the MASH finale?
105.9 million. So we'll call it 106. 106 million, 83 million homes had televisions. That's a lot.
So 106. I'm doing something here.
Okay. Just to give you an idea, by the way, one way that those are a little bit skewed, please remember, back in 1983, there were like 4 channels. That does make a difference.
45.3% of the U.S. population in 1983 watched the last episode of MASH.
That's actually the number I was looking for because there's the rating and then the share and the way that's laid out, and I've seen it somewhere. It's something stupid like that. Kyle and Jay, when eating chili,
yeah,
beans or no beans?
Beans.
Thank you.
Otherwise, it's just a meat stew.
Yeah, that's not chili if there's no beans.
There are a lot of people that do not like beans in their chili.
Okay, so they don't like chili. That's totally fine.
I agree. It's a meat stew. Favorite meat to put in chili?
It would be like, that'd be like, I love a shrimp Louis, but I don't want shrimp in it.
And then you're just having a Louis.
Yeah. Which
no, let's just not go there.
That sounds interesting.
Best meat, or not best. What is your go-to meat to put in chili?
Ground beef, hamburger.
Jay?
Ground turkey.
Dave?
Why the awkward silence?
Ground turkey?
Trying to be on the healthier side.
I can rock with the turkey chili. I prefer ground beef.
It's actually really good.
But if we take all health stuff aside, like, do you prefer ground turkey to other meat? Like, I mean, is that your preference?
I personally don't.
I mean, it's not that big a deal to me. So ground turkey's fine. I'll eat it with ground beef and enjoy it just the same.
I'm a baby when it comes to this stuff. Like my
Yeah,
wife
I know
will
you
try
are.
to, she'll
You
try
are-
to slip
I
this
know.
stuff in,
Yeah.
and I know it. I know it.
You're such a picky eater.
I agree, by the way. I'm not. I just don't want ground turkey snuck in. She tried to do ground turkey burgers the other night. Get off of me.
It's good stuff.
It is. It's just a different thing. Just don't expect a hamburger and you're fine.
The key with the ground turkey is you have to put some sort of bread into it to keep the moisture, because if you don't, then it dries out. Then, yeah, you're right. It's garbage.
I'm with you, but I just don't want to have to, well, this is really good if I do 70 things.
That's not 70. That's one.
That is one. Just hey, by the way, Kyle, did you notice since we've been bringing Jay on that he has the best radio voice out of all of us?
Yes, easily. By far.
It's like not close.
Like it's not even close.
That's 12 years as an FM DJ.
I agree. You got to have beans. I agree. Give me the old-fashioned ground beef, onions, diced bell peppers.
Yeah.
I'll
Some
do
cumin.
red and green. Oh, definitely
cumin's
on a
necessary.
Cumin. Have you ever tried putting a little bit of chocolate in?
No, you're
No.
disgusting.
Bye, Dave.
I thought the same thing, and I don't do
You're
it.
like, I'm anti-ground turkey. Now, chocolate.
So you guys have never had a mole, have you?
Yeah, I have had a
Yeah,
mole.
okay,
It's
it's got
delightful.
chocolate in it.
Mm-hmm.
Good talk, guys.
That's Jay. That's Kyle. What's that red hat you're wearing say? With the white lettering.
It's an A's 4th of July hat.
Okay, we'll take a break for about 21 hours. We'll be back at 6 a.m. Marvin Bagley, MRI News. I expect that probably, not officially, in the lowdown between noon and 3. Jim Rum is next. Sports 1140 KHTK. Bye-bye now.
You're listening to The Drive.